It's Monday, February 4th, 2019. This is TradeCraft Trading, and I've got a couple of trades I want to show you today. One that did not work in my favor, and I'll show you what that is first, and I'll show you one that was a bit interesting. This is the first one that ended up being a loss for me. You can see I got in right here. And one of the reasons I got in was because as a short, I got in as a short on Planet Fitness, and I got in around 57.92. And the reason I got in is because it started out all over the place to start the day, then it dropped a lot, came back to VWAP, and then dropped below VWAP. And I liked that because it was rejecting VWAP, but also it was also rejecting, which is hard to see here, the close of yesterday was right around 58. It was 57.99, I think. So it was below that. It was below the close of yesterday. It was below VWAP. It was also below this 10 EMA on a 15-minute chart. Okay, so I got in at what, 11:35, and that is right about here. So it was below the 10 EMA. So it was had all these factors in my favor. Only thing I didn't like is on this the 8 EMA and the 20 SMA, which I use when there's a cross. It sometimes indicates a change in direction. I didn't like that it was kind of all over the place here. You can see I got in here, and the 8 EMA was still above the 20 SMA, and then it crossed down, and I thought, oh, well, that's going to work in my favor. And then eventually it just went sideways, and then it shot up, and I got stopped out right here. So that did not work out for me. And then you can see it kind of came down again, and now it looks like, see, this looks like it's holding VWAP now. See, it came back above VWAP, dropped, and it's using it as a base here. You see a little indecision candle with a lot of volume. This might be a good place to get in long, but I'm not going to do that because I'm pretty much done for the day. But if I was going to take this anywhere now, I'd probably go the other way. I'd go long. The only issue here is this 2200 moving average on a 5-minute chart, which is right here. You can see it kind of tipped it here. It would have to kind of bust through that for it to have any kind of momentum back to the high of the day. But it looks like it's got volume, so who knows? Yeah, so that did not work out for me. But this trade was an interesting one. Now I left these markers up. See, I got in here. What I liked about this was, I think this showed up, I can't remember which scan this showed up in. I think it showed up in a new high scan that I have. It was just making new highs on the day, and then if you look at the yearly chart, let's tighten this up. You can see it was moving up pretty consistently over the last week and a half plus. Actually moving up nice for a while now, since Christmas, right here, 12/24. So it opened up and it was above 50, which is a pretty significant number. It's I can't remember if to call it a quarter centennial or whatever the heck number it is, but it's a whole number, and it's a pretty significant whole number. So yeah, so I got in right about here, 50.23. Now I didn't put a hard stop in. I had a mental stop right here. You can see the line I drew, 50.06. And it was above VWAP. It was above the 10 EMA on a 15-minute chart, and it was riding the 8 EMA on a 5-minute chart. So it had a lot of things in its favor. I liked it, and the close of yesterday was right here at 49.97. So it was above a lot of things. What was interesting was right here, right after I got in, it had a sharp down spike, then came back up. Now, if I had a hard stop in here, it would have stopped me out right away, right? And you can see it kind of ended, the spike as it was at the bottom was right at yesterday's close, or close to it. It was just a little before. But if I had a hard stop in, this would have canceled me out. So this is important for new day traders. You always should have a plan. You should always have, and you should always document everything you do. So a lot of people don't have targets, but you should always have a stop in mind, even if it's just if it's not a hard stop. You might have a stop limit or whatever. You should have a marker at least telling you, this is where I think I'll get out if it comes down. But see, it spiked down, came back up. So in my mind, the way I calculate my trades and everything, and look at everything at the end of the day, this was a loss for me in terms of my strategy, the strategy that I use to play for most of the positions I take. Even though technically you could see I got out here above where I got in, so I actually made money on this trade. It's just in my mind, when I set up a trading plan, I tell myself, if I'm going to get in here, 50, 20, whatever the heck it was, 23, and my stop is 06, I should try and get at least twice what my stop is. So if my stop is whatever it was, 17 cents, it should go up 34 cents, and I would consider that a win. That would be a winning trade for me, because it should always have 1 to 2 risk reward, and 1 to 2 is right here at 50.57. So this was technically a loss because it did go through my stop. I just didn't exit right here, and then it came right back up, and I held on. I could have just gotten out flat, and even though my strategy, my plan would have said this was a losing trade, I would have lost no money. But I ended up going up a little more, and I said, you know what, this was technically a losing trade, or a losing strategy plan right here. Might as well get out. And I did, and I made a little money on it right here. 20-cent gain. I got out at 50.43, and I had gotten in at 50.23. Then look what it did the rest of the day. Kind of retreated a little, and then a huge spike from my first target, then went through my second target, and if I had a third target, it'd be up here too. And it got all the way up to about $51. So, I got in at 50.23, so that's over 75-cent gain. So this is why it's important to have a plan, because this tells me one thing. Even though it doesn't matter how I played it, I managed the trade well enough that I didn't lose any money. But you should always keep track of how your trading plan does. And here this is a loss, but it was only a loss because my stop was too tight. If I had extended that twice as much, I would have not had to worry about it spiking down at all. And if I had a hard stop in it, I wouldn't have gotten stopped out. But this tells you something. So yes, I managed it well enough to make money, but my trading plan was flawed a little, because you can see how whippy this is. I should have known that this could have happened, because these were not tight candles. So I should have known that would have happened. So I should have had a bigger stop. I should have had a bigger cushion here. And so that tells you something going forward. You can learn from your losses, even if, like I said, this wasn't technically a losing trade for me in terms of money. It was a losing trade in terms of the strategy that I put in place. And so that's important. So yeah, you could see what would have happened if I had taken a bigger stop. I might not have gotten out right here. I might have said, you know what, it didn't hit my stop, so I'm going to stay in it. Obviously, it seems to be moving up. Had a little volume, and I could have held on to it right to my first target. Maybe taken out a few shares, and then waited till it gets to my second target and taken out a few shares. So you got to learn from every trade you do. That's why document everything you do. Write it down as soon as you get into a trade. Obviously, in most brokerages, you're gonna be able to look at what you did. It's going to keep track of everything you do, obviously, but it's always good to write it down as well, and take little notes. And here, my note was stop was too tight. So next time, maybe if I see something fitting this pattern, I won't have as tight a stop, and I'll be a little bit more cognizant of what can happen, which is like this. But yeah, so technically not a bad management of this trade, but I learned what I needed to learn about it in terms of changing my strategy a little bit going forward. So that's it for today. That's all my trades. I'll be back tomorrow, and hopefully have another trade to show you. If you have any questions about day trading and how I manage trades and how I got into day trading, definitely leave them in the comments and I'll answer them. All right, take care.